everybody. I'm Tom Basil.
Z Garcia, hello, everybody.
Hello, Mr. Healy over here.
Okay,
That's all
so
I got
this is the last top 10 list we're doing together this year.
Sam is losing his mind.
Not forever. Just this year.
No, yeah, but he needs a rest.
The Dice Tower's motto is, the Dice Tower is about games, but especially the people who play them.
Mm-hmm.
And that is true, so that's what we're talking about today. Our top 10 experiences, gaming experiences, I should clarify that.
Yes,
It'd be
please.
terrible if these were your top 10 experiences.
I had a burger this year. Woo! Whataburger.
Amazing.
And it wasn't from Whataburger.
What?
I wish it was. One of those moves to the area, we're in trouble.
Man, I mean to tell you.
Sam's in real danger.
Yes.
So, anywho, our top 10 gaming experiences. Now, a couple caveats. Our memories are not perfect. So,
Yes.
you may have played a game with us and it was an amazing time and we forgot it. Or you played a game with us and it was an amazing time, it just didn't make the list. Does that seem legitimate?
Yes, it's possible you are not interesting enough as well.
That's not what I said.
The year was chock full of interesting, fun events. It's hard to narrow it down to 10. When you try to narrow it down to 10, you inevitably overlook something.
Right.
And I will
And
likely...
you can have a lot of good times that are similar, which
Yes.
probably makes them bypass this list.
But that doesn't diminish the time that you had.
Right.
It's just narrowing it down to 10 is a difficult task.
There's a possibility that during the course of this list, I will remember some things.
And I will quickly change my list because it's on my phone.
Ah, smart.
There is no evidence.
All right, well, let's
there
get
is.
started. I wonder how much crossover we'll have.
Some, maybe.
Number 10.
All right, my number 10. And this seems a little self-serving, but it was a really cool experience.
Unless it was a solitaire game.
No,
That would be
it wasn't a
hilarious.
solitaire game.
My
It
top
wasn't
10,
a solitaire
5 of them
game.
are solitaire games.
It wasn't. It was a gaming-related experience. It wasn't an actual gaming experience. And so, but being part of the process of getting my own miniature in Blood Rage was a completely cool thing. It was kind of surreal too, because, I mean, goodness, being able to talk to the designer of the game and bounce ideas off of him. Now, I didn't bounce a whole lot of ideas off of him. He really had his. Eric really knew exactly pretty
We
much
tell
what
Eric
he
Lang
wanted.
how to make games.
And no, that's not it at all. But
Fix it!
seeing the sketch, and then seeing the mold, and then seeing the sculpt, and then seeing the finished product, and then and then watching people buy that miniature.
What's that
and,
part like?
you wouldn't know, would you? But it's just a really cool experience for me, and I know it seems self-serving, and I apologize for that, but it was a really cool, neat experience for me. Came in at number 10, getting my own Blood Rage miniature.
Okay. My number 10 seems less interesting now. All right, my number 10 was the first time that we played through Mechs vs. Minions together. Okay. There was just something about pulling up that box, and then I couldn't even pull that in, so we did a live version of it, and that was really fun. I just really like the whole Mechs vs. Minions game itself, but that first time putting those pieces out, watching how it goes, and then you're like, ooh, the game progresses, and that was fun. I'm kind of a sucker for legacy experiences. They're some of the most fun times. You're probably not going to see any Seafall on this list, but but Mechs vs. Minions was a lot of fun for me.
All right, my number 10 is playing Pandemic Iberia, or teaching rather Pandemic Iberia a few times to a few different folks on the Dice Tower cruise. That was really fun to do.
All 10 of his are from the cruise.
I know, right? It's gonna something on the cruise.
I think this is the only one. This is the only one from the cruise, and I really enjoyed that, being able to share something you really like with other people, especially when it's new, right? And it's maybe not easily available yet, whatever. And sort of going, this is the game. It's something you might be somewhat familiar with. Here's what's new. Here's what's different. And having people go, oh, I really like that system, or oh, I like what they did with that.
Yeah.
Just it was a fantastic time being able to bring folks into the game, introduce it, teach it, have a great time with it. I'll stop ringing the pandemic bell, so that'll be it. It's one time.
We didn't even give you any garbage in that one.
But I feel it.
I noticed he didn't include
My honorary
time
number
that we
11,
played
though,
in
is
Mankind.
getting Sam Healy's figure. That's my number 11.
Actually, that was my number 11. Would be the many times I taught and played Cosmic Encounter. I couldn't pick any one specific one, but I just like teaching that game a lot.
Yeah. Cool. So that's my number 10.
Number 9.
My number 9 is a controversial pick.
Ooh.
No, it is, because some people watched this and did not like this, but I had a lot of fun when it happened. And that was the first time, not the second. The first time Jason pulled that shtick during the Resistance games. We were playing with Rado, and
He's like yelling and screaming.
he was yelling and everything, and Sam was on his side and knew what was going on and just sat there. And in that same game, Bobby, who was playing with us, somehow managed to convince us very convincingly that he was guilty when he was not.
That's right. Jeez, that was a good time.
That was a really good game. Now, I understand it's a one-time trick, right? Jason can never pull that again. He tried to pull it again, and it didn't work. It's like, well, it worked, but not because of what he did. Right. So we it's a one-time thing, but that whole game was just a fun experience.
Bobby was the highlight, though, there, I think. The whole, Jason said something, and Bobby just didn't react quickly enough.
Yeah,
so it's like, oh, you're guilty.
No!
It was a good game, so I really enjoyed that. That was Resistance, the infamous game of Resistance, which if you want to see it, it's live. One of what we played with Richard Hamrado. You can look at that stream.
All right, my number 9 is one that I actually shared with Sam. And this is a game
If it's not on yours, though, it's going to be...
It's a game of, that's okay, a game of London Dread that we played, us and Rob and Jason in, where were we? Were we in Essen?
You were at Gen Con.
Okay,
We
here.
were at Gen Con,
Yeah,
yes.
I actually remember the experience, apparently. It was at Gen Con.
I remember the game. I remember sitting there. I remember being taught the game. We were having a lot of laughs.
Yeah, It was
a fun game. It was fun.
Do you remember who taught us the game?
Yeah, the designers.
Yes.
But that's kind of what makes a game like that, the memory of it a little bit stronger.
Right.
Because they know just how to teach that game,
Yeah.
Like, they know how to sell it. They know how to
They've
put you in that
practiced.
theme.
They probably practiced running through
They've done it, right? Dozens of times, probably. And so it was very streamlined. It was really smooth getting into the theme. We were having a little bit of a hard time hearing the app or whatever was running the audio.
Well, we were sitting in the middle of Gen Con. And
Yeah.
everybody talking about
But
it.
having Rob there, he's really fun to play games with. Just the whole thing was fantastic. I really enjoyed my time doing that. And it was one of the few times we got to sort of get away and sit down
that
for a game.
passerby, that lady was like really helpful.
She was like, do this.
Yeah,
And
do
then-
this, do this, do this, do this. And we were like, okay, we just won because of you. Thank you.
So yeah, that was a play of
It was an
London
angel
Dread.
all along.
An
That's
angel? That was
Entertained
London
angels
Dread
on
at
wings.
Gen Con this past year. That's my number 9.
My number 9 is running the painting clinics at Dice Tower Con this year.
Is that what you call them? Painting clinics?
Well, that's what I.
You come in, they're like, let me look at your model. Yeah, you go over there. This one's really bad. He needs emergency help.
Okay, fine. The painting tutorial sessions that myself, Rob Oren, and Vernon Piper did at Dice Tower Con. We just had a really great time. We did it 2 days in a row.
You weren't expecting that many people to come.
And we were not. We had a huge turnout. Just completely blew us out of the water that way. Games Workshop provided the kits that we were able to paint. People were able to go away with 3 marine models instead of just 1, and a set of paints and a brush. So Games Workshop was really on board with that one. We had a great time just interacting with everybody. Everybody that was at the tables was having a great time interacting with each other. It was just a really cool experience that just kind of, it was an idea that Rob and I had. We were like, yeah, let's see if we can get it done, and it turned out to be an amazing thing. So we really had a great time. Hopefully we'll be able to do it again this year as well, and more.
Definitely planning to do it.
Yes, definitely planning. So that was my number 9, the painting tutorial sessions at Dice Tower Con.
Number 8.
All right, my number 8 was at the Cool Mini or Not Expo earlier this year, and that was playing Unusual Suspects. They set up a big game of it with, I guess they wanted to...
It was an all-star game.
They kind of wanted to do some sort of promotional game of it, so they got a few people who are podcasters, a couple of us, and it's a big group. I can't remember everybody who was there, but it was a fun, lively, fantastic game. A lot of folks that are used to being outgoing, being loquacious, all sitting together, playing this game was just about the perfect sort of group to engage in that activity, you know, and you could tell everybody was having a good time. We were all enjoying each other's company. It's a lot of people that I think are fantastic and don't really get to see that often.
Yeah.
So sitting down playing a game like this, where you're not just quietly staring at a board, but you're talking, you're making jokes, you're cracking wise, was just the right game to play there. So I had a great time, very memorable. I think there might be footage of this online as well. I'm not sure where you would be able to find that at this point.
Coleman or not did the video for that one, so
Yeah.
I would go to the YouTube channel maybe.
But it was fun. It was really engaging and lively. That is the Unusual Suspects game that we played and they recorded at the Cool Mini or Not Expo.
I'm gonna Google loquacious when we get done with this. Is your word of the day?
I've only said it once.
All right, it's your word of the day. Yeah.
Sure.
You got it in.
Yeah, you got it in.
Good job.
You want?
My number 8 was took place at MeepleCon right after Gamma in Las Vegas, and it was a really cool experience for us. First of all, MeepleCon as a whole, because it was kind of a cool down session, like an afterglow after.
Oh my goodness!
Gamma.
Yes.
I mean, Gamma was like 8 to 6 sometimes because of tear up and set down and all that kind of stuff. Set up and tear down. That's what I meant to say. So it was like full on like 8-9 hour days of just interviewing and work and stuff like that. So after that was over, we were able to spend a few days, just a couple days at MeepleCon at the Cannery in Las Vegas, and it was a great time. But my highlight of that, second highlight, I gotta mention this because it just popped in my head. Pecunia non Olet is where I was introduced. I was introduced to Pecunia non Olet at MeepleCon. Amazing experience.
By a gentleman who loves that game more than life itself.
Yes. And
Remember that?
I think he just likes gaming more than life.
We understand
That's the
that.
thing.
But my number...
He gets excited about weird games, that
my
guy.
actual number 8 is
What?
actually winning TI3 by myself.
Like
Solo win for the first time ever.
Was this there?
Yes. It was at MeepleCon.
That's right, because you guys started that, and I said, "Oh, you're gonna be here
you
all
were near
day,"
the
and then you
front,
weren't.
yeah.
We were done like 4.5 hours later.
I was very surprised.
And it was like a 5-player game.
Were they all new?
No, there was one new person.
No one knew the rules.
Yeah, so it was an amazing experience. I love playing TI3 anyway, but being able to win my first game of it that will be forever solidified in my memory. My number 8, winning my first game of TI3 at MeepleCon.
My number 8 is close to a solitaire game, actually. Yeah. No, I did a series earlier this year where I was playing games against the internet. It was like a down month and I was playing them. And they were all fun, so I just picked one, and that was when I played Adventureland. And I just got a kick out of it because it really works out well. Because I'm not the best game player. And a hive mind should easily beat me, and they won most of the time. But at the same time, I would pick someone different to take control of who was making the moves.
Right.
Therefore, that's kind of like shifting who's in charge, which kind of gives me a fair... They're not as good then. They're not as...
Then. Right.
Right, they're not as
Collaborative.
Yes. I was actually thinking coalesced. But
His word of the day now.
all words are my word of the day.
That's right. He just mispronounces it.
I'm just happy to go over my vocabulary limit. Anyhow, it was just that was a fun experience, and I haven't done it for a while. Maybe we do it again. There is some work that's involved setting that up and all, but it was a good time. So me versus the internet in Adventureland, which is still a great game.
Number 7.
My number 7 was during our time at the Gathering earlier this year, but it was not at the Gathering. We actually took a little excursion out of there and crossed into Canada and went to Snakes and Lattes, which is a fantastic game cafe. Very well run, beautiful, solid place. I loved it. And we had enough time there to sit down and play a couple of games. And one of those games was Libertalia, one of my favorites from a few years ago, a couple of years ago. Sat down, met some new folks. We broke the game out. I taught it, played in that beautiful setting, had some drinks, had some food there. And it was what I would imagine folks that have access to a place like this would experience on a much more regular basis. Being able to sit down in a relaxed, welcoming, warm, well-lit, wow, that was like some serious alliteration, setting, and playing a game with friendly folks. I really enjoyed it. Libertalia at Snakes and Lattes was my number 7 experience of the year.
So apparently, every time we play games here, it's not well lit,
Well, that's not necessarily.
and the people are not friendly.
Yeah, well,
He doesn't experience this very often.
One of those two things was true.
it was a very good experience. I look forward to going back. All right, my number 7 was at MeepleCon, which Sam has just mentioned. There was a lot of good experiences there.
That it wasn't a game about poop, though.
It was not, although I forgot about that
He's
game
lost
till he
touch with
mentioned
his inner
it.
child, that's why.
it's inner. But anyhow, I had the people who played this game were really fun to play with, but I also got a kick out of the fact that we played Vegas Showdown in Vegas. All right, that's like kind of playing Taj Mahal in the Taj Mahal. I don't think you can actually do that one, but playing Vegas Showdown in Vegas was cool. But also, the people I played with were really fun. It was just a really good game, and I forgot how much I really liked that game. So that's my number 7.
Play London Dread in London.
In Fear.
Play Blood Rage in Valhalla.
That's not going to work out.
All right, my number 7 was at the West Texas Tabletop Con in San Angelo, Texas this summer. And it was a game of Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, within which myself, Z, Dan King, the Thompsons,
This is the one in Texas?
yes.
Wanda was playing with us.
Wanda was playing
Green.
with us, yes. And, oh, goodness. It was on the Pub Meeple booth in the actual convention. They were recording it. You can probably still find it out there. Scott,
I watched part of that game.
Scott Morris was there from Passport Studios, and he played with us. It was just a really fun game. We've actually played 2 games right in a row, and it was just a great time. That's where it kind of opened my eyes to how much I really enjoyed the game.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the people, because I have played it many times since, and I really enjoy the game a lot. So my number 7 experience is playing Deception, Murder in Hong Kong at the Pub Meeple booth at West Texas Tabletop Con.
That's one I forgot about, but that would be on my list. That was a great time.
That was.
Number 6.
Now, in the past, we've done this, and people say, "Oh, it's all your stuff comes from conventions," and really, a lot of it does, because when you're at a convention, you get to play with a lot of really outgoing people sometimes.
Sure. Yep.
And it's not that our gaming group is bad. I like playing games with a gaming group, but you play with the people who are there. But when you go to a convention, there's just a whole bunch of people, and there's a sense of ah. Anyway, my number 6 is also from Cool Mini or Not convention, and that was when we played Time's Up there. Now, we played it with the wrong rules, in my opinion. They played with teams over pairs. I like pairs better.
Oh, okay.
Teams is okay, but with teams, anybody can shout. Well, no, not that. If you shout out the wrong answer, and Z knows the right answer, we're on the same team, yours counts, not his. Mm-hmm. So it can be kind of annoying if someone's like, "Hey, I know all the answers," and they don't.
Oh, I see.
But it was still a lot of fun. I saw Rodney Smith, who is a paradigm of class. Not paradigm of class. Well, actually, he is. I'm sorry, epitome of class. We really need that dictionary.
Yeah.
I just like that you're using bigger words and they're being pronounced correctly. I'm thrilled.
Do you even word of the day?
Okay, so anyway, Rodney Smith is like this
in there.
guy until you play a game against him, and he went berserk in that Time's Up. And Marty, and there's just a lot of fun people in that game. It was very silly, and I was glad to have been involved. Time's Up at CMONCon. I guess is
CMONCon does not sound great, but yes.
CMONCon. I think.
Come on, man.
I still want to call him Come On. I think that's
Yeah.
Come on.
All right, my number, we're on what, 6s?
6s.
Okay. My number 6, this is kind of a more of a personal experience, because I was able to meet somebody that my wife knew in high school. I grew up in the same town, and it's kind of funny because they hadn't talked in years, but he listens to the Dice Tower, he watches our videos and stuff like that, and then he found out through one of her Facebook posts that she was married to me, and he kind of went fanboy on her. But on her, not me.
Right.
So it was kind of a roundabout way. Well, anyway, they found out we were doing the Dice Tower cruise, and they signed on to do it, and we got to spend a lot of time with them. Their names are Scott and Molly, and that's my number 7, is being able to meet and play games with somebody from my wife's past. It's just, when you meet somebody from your significant other's past, it's an interesting thing. And it was just really cool how we kind of hit it off as, a couple of couples on the cruise, and we had a great time. They got to meet our kids. Their kids weren't there, but they got to meet our kids, and they all got along, had a great time. And, it's just weird seeing somebody like my daughter, Catherine. She was hugging on Molly at the end of the cruise, saying bye to her and stuff like that. So there was a real connection there made, and I really enjoyed that. It was a great time to meet both of them. So not that anybody else's time that I spent with them wasn't as interesting or as fun, but that was just kind of a personal highlight for me for the cruise. That is meeting Scott and Molly.
Cool. My number 6 was very recently, actually, and I got to play with my nephew. That I even though every time I make one of these lists, it must sound like I get to play a lot of games with him. I really don't get to play a lot of games with him. That's probably why they make the list.
It does sound like you do a lot, because you'll say, I played that with my nephew.
I really don't get to play that much, with him. But I did get to play Escape Room, the game, with him recently, just a few weeks ago. He's never done an escape room. Every now and then I'll tell him about having done one. I've only ever done 2, but I'll tell him about it, and he seems very excited about the prospect of doing one. And so we did the next best thing, which is playing a board game that simulates that, and we had a great time. It was just us two solving the puzzles, figuring out all the clues. It's gimmicky. It pales in comparison to a real escape room or puzzle room, but it was a great time. We had a blast, and so I'm looking forward to doing more of them with him, because the box comes with 4 scenarios. We've done just the 1, but that's my number 6, playing Escape Room, the game.
Just point
that
that
we won. We lost with my nephew. Nobody needs to know that.
Number 5.
All right, now we're into the top 5 of the list, and my number 5, I don't. Usually this guy goes to all the press events because, he's Tom Vasil, and he's the one that gets invited to the press events. But
they're not as exciting as you think.
Well, this one was actually pretty fun. So I'd like to go to more of these kinds of things. But anyway, the Monolith press event at Gen Con I was able to go to this year, and they were doing them throughout the day at a restaurant that was a couple blocks away from the convention center, and it was just a really neat experience of coming in. They had this whole kind of a meeting room set up, a large table, and they had the game just kind of sprawled out on the table, all the different components that's going to come in the game and that type of thing. It was for the Mythic Battles Pantheon game that's coming out here pretty soon, and just had a great time. Was able to actually demo the game. I was one of the 2 people during our session that actually got to play the game, and it was a really fun experience. Being able to listen to them talk about their passion that they've put into the game, the different processes that were involved, watching the video that was prepared as to introduce the game to people and that type of thing. Put out by Gaming Rules. He's very good at what he does. So I just had a great experience, and I hope I can do some of them later on in the future.
Well, citizen, you're asking on camera. We don't go to that many of them these days now.
Yeah, I know.
But, all right.
All right, what are we on, 5s?
Yes.
All right, my number
He
5.
just changed it.
No, I didn't. I haven't messed with the list. The one that Tim did mention, I was like, oh, that was great, was the
Deception.
the Texas one. Yeah. Anyway, my number 5 was playing with my good buddy Mark Streed in Colorado. I was invited out there for an Extra Life event at the Haunted Game Cafe. Haunted Game Cafe, they're the ones that brought me in, set up the event, had everybody gather there, raising money, raising funds. And earlier, the day before, Mark had mentioned the others came up. And Mark had mentioned how he had really disliked it. The entire group had disliked it. And I was just sort of wowed by that. I could understand it not being his cup of tea, but he actively disliked it. He said that it was a bad game. And so we finally made some time the day of the Extra Life event for me to sit down and play with them. I taught it to them and very quickly realized they had played very wrong. And so we tried it again. I was running the bad guys in the game. They were all the heroes. It's just easier to teach from that point of view. And we had a great time. The game was a nail biter till it came down to the very final roll-off there, very final fight. It was a blast, and everybody that I played with, I want to say Mark and a couple of other guys whose names, unfortunately, I'm forgetting right now, had been in that original game, and they all walked away at least liking the game more. Everybody seemed to feel like, okay, yes, that we really butchered that the first time. So, very happy to have played that, and to, whenever you're able to sort of salvage someone's point of view or opinion of something, you're like, yes, you know?
Right.
So, that was the others at the Haunted Game Cafe earlier this year, my number 5.
All right, my number 5 was not at any convention. It was just an ordinary game day at one of our Saturday game meetups that we have, and it was the very first time we played Project Elite. Now, I played Project Elite many, many times since then. I know. I know.
Huh.
Okay.
Wow.
Someday you'll play it.
Goose egg.
But that very first time we played it, it was kind of like, oh yeah, the miniatures don't look that great, and it's real time, here we go. And then we played it, and it was just amazing. We're like, this is such an incredibly good game. We played it again, and that I like when I have that experience where you play a game and you're not expecting it to be good, and it just blows you away.
Sure.
I love when it happens. There are games that you play and you expect to be good. Right, like the Mechs vs. Minions, we thought that would be good. Then there's when you play a game you think is going to blow you away, and it doesn't. That's horrible.
That's the worst of all.
Right.
But you're right that it is sweeter when you're expecting an okay game and you get a fantastic one.
Yeah, and the guys that played with, everyone got into it. It was very exciting. So, regular game day of Project Elite.
Number 4.
All right, my number 4 is another event that happened at Dice Tower Con, and it was my first play of a game that, much like Project Elite, kept getting played and played and played and played and played. Nobody asked if I wanted to join in. Nobody brought that game up whenever I wanted to play.
Oh, I didn't put this on my list.
And so that's, I've done 2 now that both of them have just like, that's cool.
That would have made my
Makes me
list.
warm inside. Anyway, playing my first game of Robinson Crusoe with Ignacy Trzewiczek at Dice Tower Con was an amazing experience. Playing games with him is just really fun anyway. He's just that kind of guy. But just some of the interactions that we had just will be forever imprinted on my memory. And it was, I think, fun for everybody else as well.
Yeah.
It was fun for people to watch. It was fun for
That was such
all
a
of us
good
at
game.
the table. And it's a great game. Really enjoyed playing the game, and it was a great experience with Ignacy. So that was definitely going to make my list. Number 4.
He's really fun. He doesn't. He tries not to quarterback the game.
Right.
But he'll say things like, "You can do that if you want to die." And we're like, oh. Wasn't the very first time you played the game with him, Robinson Crusoe, way back in the day?
Oh, boy.
At a Gen Con? I thought it was. I thought you went to a Gen Con and you played.
Yeah, right after
Robinson
one of our
Crusoe.
live shows,
Like
I
the
think
first time
we
that.
played, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like us and Ryan Metzler was in that game. We just died badly. And I remember Ignacy saying something along the lines of, yeah, I've never seen anybody do this bad. Something like that. But
He said
thanks,
something similar
man.
to when we were there. Okay,
Thanks for the
anyhow.
vote of confidence.
Yeah, that was a really great game. All right, my number 4. Over the course of every year, I run maybe 6 or 7 games of pitch car in different places, right? They're always a blast. Always get a big group of people to play them. They're all very fun. But the most fun one for me this year, I tried something new at Dice Tower Con, is I split the adults into their own category and the kids in their own category, and the kids game was amazing. They were like cheering for each other. The adults are like very conservative, like flicking it a little bit. The kids are like, let's do this, and they're shooting it around. It's so much. It was just more fun for me to play with the kids. And it was a lot of kids. I think it was like 17 kids in the game. That was a really neat thing.
Wow.
So that's definitely, they're going to be split from now on. It's also, it's just, I don't know. I just got a big kick out of that. I don't work at a school anymore, so I don't get to run those big kid events that I used to do. And so this one was just really fun for me.
Yeah.
So Pitch Car at Dice.com with the kids.
My number 4 was an event I was not even expecting to be a part of. I did not know anything about it, and it's certainly the quietest experience on this whole list. This was getting involved in the Puzzle Hunt event at BGG-Con that Mr. Eric Summerer asked me to join, and it was Eric himself, Rob Oren, who, as I said before, I just love hanging out with that guy, Jason, who is Jason, and myself.
What?
So us 4, that was nice,
That was
right?
nice.
I'd like to point out that 2 of your games so far have had Jason in them, so I don't want to hear nothing.
No, well, we play with him a lot. The Puzzle Hunt was a mind-melting experience, but it was really fun to do with those guys. It's this huge event that takes, I think, an hour, and they give you a bunch of puzzles. You try to solve as many of them as you can. I'm simplifying it, but that's basically what you're doing. And we had Eric and Jason on the one side of the table just killing it with the puzzle solving. These guys are so smart. They were unlocking levels and finding new things. And then on the other side of the table, not so much the brain side, we had myself and Rob Oren. And we were just we were every now and then making silly jokes, but like really quiet because
So not helping.
the
basically.
room is super quiet, right? It's this huge room filled with brains. But we would just be doing silly stuff, and I make it sound like we threw away our game. We didn't, but it was nice that Rob was not hunkering down like we have to win, you know. And it was just fantastic. It was just the right group to engage in that experience with.
And
Great.
they've been asked not to come back.
That'd be hilarious. Yeah, I would do it again in a heartbeat. Really enjoyed it. The Puzzle Hunt was something very different for me and something that I really enjoyed. But again, it's the people that made it what it was. So that's my number 4.
Number 3.
All right, my number 3 is from Origins, and this was, I played many fun games of this, but the very first one was the funnest, and that was Captain Sonar. I believe you were in that game.
Yeah.
Eric Summer was in that game, and Captain Sonar, I've never played a bad game of it. It's just an amazingly fun experience. But that first time, we played through it, and we were playing through the step-by-step thing. And we were like,
right. Yeah, we played once without it real time.
we're like, yeah, this is okay. Okay, let's try it real time. Whoa, it was so good.
yeah.
We were yelling at each other, having a great time. I think Eric's team beat us. You were on my team, right?
I was on this side,
Yeah, you were with me.
and I was across Eric. So yes. This was definitely on my short list, but I have forgotten that we did that normal take turns and then real time. Yeah,
And
the
then when
real time stuff
you were
is
like-
the memorable stuff.
And then Eric was just sitting over there. They're right there. I'm like, shut up, Eric.
I know I was trying to role play it up. I was next to you, right? And we were like, I was doing the thing, and I was like, right here, Captain, kill him. You know, I thought we'd be like, stop, fire. You know.
And then I went and taught it some more times because it was just that much fun.
Yeah, that game's
and then
blast.
we saw it being played over at different conventions, and even all the way up to the cruise. In fact, it's one of the most popular games of the year, actually, it seems.
Yeah.
So, Captain Sonar at Origins.
All right, that's me. My number 3 is actually very close to a solitaire experience, but this was at the Portal in Connecticut we went to, and for some reason throughout those couple of days, a lot of people kept asking me to teach them how to play Onirim, a game
All
I
right, well, a
talked
minute.
about.
We paid him.
You paid them?
No.
It made me feel good. Several people came up and asked, you know, to be taught how to play, and I'm always happy to teach people how to play a game I really like. It's very simple, and they happen to have a copy there in their library, their little library at the Portal. And there was one moment that was very memorable for me where I was teaching. I was sitting between 2 pairs of folks, both being taught Onirim at the same time.
That's how good he is.
And the game's really simple. So I was like teaching these 2 and helping them, and every time I had a question, I'd help them out. And then I'd turn over and teach this couple over here. And it was just really fun to be able to, again, like sharing Pandemic Iberia at the beginning of my list, being able to share and teach that game I really like to folks that were curious about it, you know? And like I said, they all sort of came to me and asked to learn it, and it was just a very thrilling experience to see folks getting it, enjoying it, getting into it. It was fantastic. It was my highlight, which is a weird thing because I wasn't playing a game. But it was my highlight for that convention was teaching several people Onirim. Really enjoyed that. So that is my number 3, Onirim.
I want to see you dual teach Twilight Imperium.
Oh, man.
All right, there's 4 tables
Not
here.
quite the same
I'm gonna
thing.
teach all.
Blood Rage would be enough, I think. Goodness.
Yeah, teaching. I've taught more than one game at the same time, but it's a tough. Didn't Eric one time teach like Merchants of Venus to a whole room?
He did, yeah.
Well,
You notice
But
he
he
didn't
was
sign up
teaching
to
at
do
the
that
same
again.
time.
Yeah.
He was teaching everyone once, not like different parts of the
It was
explanation.
at Dice Tower Con last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you notice he didn't sign up to do it again.
Exactly.
That's a tough thing. All right.
My number 3 is actually happened within the trip to UKGE this year, and that is my trip to Nottingham in the UK, where I was able to, first of all, meet up with Jay Howitt, Breacher18, breacher18.com, and she was at that moment working at the Luterati, and so she took me to the store that she worked in, and we sat there and we played a game. I can't remember what
All the
game
games are
is.
screeching halt.
Job.
Yeah, but anyway, that's not the experience.
Sheriff of Nottingham,
That's just-
Shadows over Camelot, Robin Hood. I'm
no,
thinking about
come
it.
on, no,
I thought you'd be
not that.
thematic.
No, it wasn't. I can't remember. It's
Blood
man,
Rage.
It was a really fun game too. I remember.
Glad
having
it's your
it
number
'cause-
3.
Coliseum.
But that wasn't my experience. This is only part of it, weirdo. So after the Luterati, why am I blanking on this?
You went to Games Workshop,
I did.
and at Games
John-
Workshop, John Carter, of Mars.
That's the word. Okay, yes. Okay, so anyway,
I wasn't even there.
after the Luterati, John Carter picked me up at the Luterati, and he actually took me to Warhammer World, and that was the thing that is actually my number 3. But it's a whole trip to Nottingham. I enjoyed every single minute of it, but the Warhammer World really kind of overshadows everything else. While it wasn't the true peek behind the veil that I really was hoping it would be. I mean, I wanted to go see their warehouse. I wanted to go see, where people were working on new projects, and I wanted to go see all of that stuff. While it wasn't that, hint, hint, it was an incredible experience to be able to interview a bunch of people that work there and see all of the work that they've put into in their museum, which is basically what it is. Their museum of miniatures and dioramas. They've got a 2.5-story diorama that's in there that is just amazing. There's a staircase that wraps around it. It's just an amazing thing to behold, being able to eat there in Bugman's Bar with the guys from Warhammer, and it was just an amazing experience. I will never forget it. Hopefully I'll be able to return sometime, maybe in the near future.
It's like Sam's like
But
list about asking for stuff.
that's my number 3, my trip to Nottingham in the UK, including Jay Howitt, the Luterati, and Warhammer World.
Number 2.
My number 2 is the first crossover of the list, if I'm not mistaken. This is the first time we have a crossover, yes?
Yes.
And it is Robinson Crusoe with Ignacy
yes, I was stupid.
at Dice Tower Con. It was a fantastic experience, and like Sam said, all the parts of it were working well. Us playing the game, that was great. Being taught the game by Ignacy, fantastic. People watching online as we were streaming it, fantastic. It all just clicked, right? There was no one thing that wasn't quite working for it. For
Yeah, it
me,
was one of our
anyway.
online games that we didn't make rules mistakes either. Yes.
Right. So that's what I mean. Everything was firing there, and it was just a great time. Ignacy, like Sam said, is really fun to play games with. We were all having a good time. The energy was high, you know, and that's what made it so engaging to me. I felt just really blessed and happy to be playing that game in that setting, looking out. There was a camera right in front of us filming us, but looking out over this sea of people all having fun and playing games was so fulfilling. So my number 2, Robinson Crusoe with Ignacy Chevicek at Dice Tower Con. And these clowns.
Thanks, man. Number 2.
Number 2. Number 2 was Dice Tower Cruise.
Oh, the whole cruise? I didn't know we could do that.
Yeah,
Oh, man,
the
I'm
entire
changing that.
Dice Tower Cruise was an amazing experience, and not just because I had a great time. It was the one trip this year that I was able to take my family on, and they absolutely enjoyed themselves tremendously. My oldest son, Michael, probably played more games than I did, but he just had a great time. David had a great time doing other things. He played some games, but he did a lot of stuff that was on the boat. My wife enjoyed her time there as well. Even my son Aiden, with using the youth program that the ship has on board, he enjoyed himself tremendously too. And we were able to let him have his time playing with people his age. And we'd pick him up at lunchtime, go eat lunch, and then go to the pool with him. And he just had a great time as well. So it was an amazing gaming-related experience for me this year. And I cannot stress enough how much you would do well to at least look into this coming year. My number 2.
I'm not arguing. My number 2 is almost a crossover with Z. It's the same game, but different players. And that's with my kids playing Escape the Room.
Yeah.
It's just, you know what? Those kind of games just tend to be that much fun. You know, they're going to be fun no matter who you play them with. But I was able to play all 4, and we won 3 of the 4 missions. But there's just something fun about not doing it all yourself, in a sense. Like, right, I can figure a lot of this stuff out, but to kind of just play, and then I was like, oh, I really need to actually play hard here, you know, because some of that stuff is thinky. But the kids are like, well, what about this? What if you do that? I'm like, oh, you're right, that is great, and I love that, right? There's that real sense of teamwork, and when you're done, you just feel satisfied together. It was a really good time. So it's called Escape the Room, right?
It's called Escape Room, the game.
Escape Room the game with my kids.
And finally, number 1.
Well, my son has once again stolen my 20-sided dice, but we're giving Z 3 6-sided, which technically means you're doing better because you can't go up to a 20, but your chance of getting a higher number is better. You can't go down to a 1 either.
Right, sure.
Oh, man.
Wow, that did absolutely nothing. You literally went like this.
Hang on. If that's what we're doing.
I don't want to make too much noise on this thing.
4.
Well, he beat you with one of his dice.
Okay, so my total is 11.
13.
Take it.
All right, what's the order here?
I get to reroll the lowest, though,
I'll let you go. I'll let you go first because I felt sorry for you.
because of my 3 dice or my year experiences. All right, my number 1.
You had to play with us. Ha 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 ha.
My number 1, it's been a year of puzzly goodness for me. I talked about Puzzle Hunt. I talked about Escape Room, the game. The year for me has been very much heavily influenced by that feeling of discovery, of solving puzzles, of putting things together. My number 1 experience of the year was playing a Prophecy of Dragons in Time Stories with these guys, which is, again, Time Stories is very much a puzzly endeavor. And that scenario is fantastic. It is chock full of action and puzzles and a great theme, which I was not even excited about before we got into it. I was thinking this is going to be my least favorite module, or whatever they're called, for Time Stories.
I was confused. I thought this one was the one that we disliked.
We didn't dislike the Egyptian one. We just didn't like it as much as the others.
It was the least liked.
It was, I forget what that was called.
So it was the Egyptian one, my bad.
And not the Egyptian one, the one before that, A Prophecy of Dragons, the fantasy
The
one.
fantasy theme.
Right. And I just had a blast playing it. I cannot remember the last time I had so many, like, wow moments in a game. You know, every time you flip a new card, every time you see a new drawing, fantastic artwork. The whole thing was my best gaming experience of the year. And it was right here. So you can have great gaming experiences anywhere. You do not need to go to conventions to have great gaming experiences. We just need to have great people and great games. And you get those 2 things together, and you are done.
Wow.
I love you guys.
That's deep.
My number 1 is a crossover with Z. Same thing. My number 1, Prophecy of Dragons. That was so much fun. I'm really surprised with that high on your list. But it was.
I do like you guys.
not only was that the best module, but it was just like Z said. Every time we found, there was like it's hard because we can't spoil it. But like there was one time we found an item which we thought was ridiculous that later on mattered.
Right.
And there was a lot of timey-wiminess in it. There was such a sense of exploration, and we didn't even see everything in it. I mean, that's how good the game.
Yeah.
That I know that one's the most divisive. Some people hate that one, but I loved it, and that was a great game. So my number 1, also Prophecy of Dragons.
Very cool.
That was a collaboration.
But that we had the same one?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yes. All right. Well, my number 1 beats your 2 number 1, hands down. And that is the entire trip to London, the UK.
Well, we weren't including like entire trips on our thing here.
No. But I'm going to go through why, each specific reason why. I mean,
Get a drink.
each single day was gaming related. I mean, we spent 2 days in London. One night we spent in the home of one of our hosts playing games with his game group, or at least part of his game group. That was a tremendous great time. The second day we were in London, we spent in the evening at Drafts. Or Drafts, I don't know how you pronounce it in London English, but we spent the evening playing games in one of their local gaming.
We did see like a cross section of like a lot of stuff going on.
It was just a really neat experience. The next day I was in the UK. I was in Nottingham with Warhammer World and Luderati Gaming Cafe, and then the rest of the time there was at UKGE, which is an amazing convention. I just really enjoyed the entire trip, and every single day had something gaming related in it, and not just gaming related. It was just very memorable, experiential times for playing games and meeting new people and that type of thing. So by far my top. I mean, there's like not. I mean, Dice Tower Cruise is great, but UKGE was a phenomenal trip. A phenomenal trip.
Was
really
garbage.
enjoyed it a lot. So this year's probably not going to be as good because Z's going to be there. But
oh man! Well, also it's not your first time of like Discovery, right? You've already been there, so
that was definitely tongue in cheek. It'll be cool to watch him have a good time like we did last year.
I'll be sure to let you know I'm having an awful time.
Okay, that's fine.
I'll be like, oh,
I'll
this is
enjoy
what
that
I was
too.
excited about.
I'll enjoy that too. Yeah, I'll enjoy that too. So anyway, my number 1 is our trip to London and UKGE.
we had a lot of great convention this year, and there was a lot of other outside experiences. Right, I ate dinner with people and just spent time talking to people. I had a great time. I tried to contain my specific games, but there was also another experience which I didn't consider a game, but I could have put on the list, and that's when we went and did that puzzle room. That was really fun.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that was like a game, so I kind of.
Me with Zev and Steve.
Yeah.
And again, that adds to my perception of the year, which was very puzzle heavy.
It was.
It was just a lot of puzzly games and experiences. Loved it.
Right.
Alrighty, well that's it, folks. Thanks so much. We hope you share some great experiences you had. Maybe you have to type a long time in the comments. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Maybe you played a game with us and it was in your top 10 worst experiences. You can put that in the comments too.
If that is true, I kind of want to hear about it. Why? I'm sorry.
Ignacio's gonna come in there. Guys, I had the worst game of Robinson Crusoe ever. Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vessel.
Z Garcia, happy holidays, everybody.
Sam Healy. See you on the flip side.